All right, let's jump right into this. Welcome to today's Explainer, where we're going to unpack a truly fascinating philosophical thought experiment. We're diving into a really unique essay, originally penned way back in 1998, and then reflected upon by the author nearly 30 years later in 2026. It's a text that doesn't just ask how the universe was put together, but rather why. Today we're going on a journey through this idea of a cosmic wager. We'll look at the gritty reality of human flaws and what might just be the ultimate test of free will. It is brilliant, it's got a great sense of humor, and honestly, it's a deeply profound look at the whole human condition.
To kick things off, our source text asks the ultimate, most relatable question: what exactly went through God's head right before dedicating so much effort into the incredibly complex project of creating humanity? I mean, think about it for a second. If we operate on the basic premise shared by major world religions that God created the universe, why was there an actual drive to leave everything else aside, sit down, and meticulously plan a whole world around this one creature called man? Our author points out that in this universe, every single molecule is calculated. It's placed in the exact right spot, with the perfect color, the perfect shape, the whole shebang.
Which brings us to Section 1, the most complex creation project.
And that leads directly into Section 2, the tension between good and evil.
So the text suggests that this perfectly tuned universe couldn't possibly be just some random, fleeting urge, right? And it wasn't just a made-to-order cosmic chore either. Instead, the author pitches this incredibly intriguing thought experiment. What if the sheer perfection of the world around us is actually the result of a massive, high-stakes cosmic test? This frames the entire situation as a metaphorical wager between two completely opposing views on human nature, essentially a giant debate between God and Satan. Now, just to be clear, the author points out we aren't talking about a literal conversation between two entities sitting across from each other in a boardroom. It's a philosophical tool. It's a framework to help us visualize the endless tension between good and evil that's literally inside every single one of us. And what's super interesting here is the stark contrast. On one side, you have Satan's deeply cynical view, the idea that humans are inescapably flawed, totally ruled by our dark impulses, and basically doomed to self-destruct. But on the exact opposite side, you have God's profound, optimistic hope. It's the belief that, yeah, those dark impulses are there, but humans have the free will to choose the good, to overcome those flaws, and ultimately build a better world.
Let's dig into that cynical side for a moment. The text argues that, according to Satan's view, we're all born with these specific dark traits totally hardwired into us: hate, anger, greed, and the urge to exploit others. But here's the fascinating twist the author throws at us. We don't actually get rid of these traits as we grow up. Nope. Instead, we just become absolute experts at hiding them. We learn pretty quickly that if we actually exposed all our dark impulses to the world, society would immediately reject us. So our whole ability to conceal these traits is, ironically, a core part of our flawed nature.
That sets the stage for Section 3, the testing ground in Eden.
Okay, so the crucial point here is this. If God wanted to prove to Satan that humanity could actually overcome these fundamental flaws, he couldn't just drop humans into an empty void. He needed a highly controlled environment. And man, this completely reframes the story of the Garden of Eden for us. It wasn't just a nice paradise. It was a deliberately designed testing ground. God gives humanity everything, puts them in this flawless setting, but there absolutely has to be a catch if this wager is ever going to be settled. Which brings us straight to the forbidden trees. The author's logic here is razor sharp. Why go through the massive effort of building this gorgeous paradise specifically for humans, only to plant two trees right in the middle that they absolutely cannot touch? Well, the answer is that the trees were not a trap. They were a necessary parameter for the experiment. As the text beautifully puts it, without a do not do requirement, these impulses cannot be tested. It makes perfect sense. You simply cannot prove a creature has free will if they literally don't have the option to make the wrong choice.
And this breaks down how the sequence of the test actually played out. First, you have the forbidden trees being placed. Then, God looks down at Adam, wandering all alone among the animals. And the author uses this fantastic, humorous anecdote here. God deciding to create Eve is described like a classic Jewish mother who decides her solitary son is lonely and desperately needs to be set up with a nice girl next door. So Eve enters the picture. Then comes the snake, which the text describes as a worldly figure symbolizing external temptations. Eve falls for the temptation, brings Adam down with her, and boom, the ultimate expulsion from Eden. The test was triggered, and humanity definitely stumbled.
Which drops us into Section 4, the carrot and stick method.
Following that pretty catastrophic failure in Eden, the rules of the game completely changed. Humanity entered into this incredibly complex, ongoing reality entirely ruled by consequences. The author calls this the carrot and stick method. From the moment of expulsion right up until today, our relationship with the divine has been this tangled web of punishments on one hand and miracles on the other. We make terrible mistakes, we fail to learn our lessons, and yet, God keeps using this carrot and stick method because he hasn't stopped believing we can actually win the wager. When you look at human history through these two perspectives, it's clear the jury is still very much out. If you look at the world today, there are plenty of days where it really feels like Satan has the upper hand. You just have to look at crime, drugs, and the sheer malice humans are capable of. It looks like self-destruction is totally winning. But then, and here's the catch, on the other side you see these flashes of immense potential, triumphs of good, moments of profound compassion where you get the distinct feeling that God's hope is very real, and that goodness might just win out after all.
Let's move to our final part, Section 5, the perspective from 2026.
Now, let's shift gears a bit. What makes this source text so special is the meta-narrative. The author actually looks back at his own essay in the year 2026, roughly 30 years after he first wrote it in 1998, and he makes this deeply personal, remarkably humble reflection about this whole cosmic headache. He looks at humanity's cycle. We make promises, we break them, we pray for forgiveness knowing full well we are probably going to mess up again tomorrow. He asks the exact same question from decades ago. Why on earth does God even need us? And he lands on this really beautiful, intimate realization. Looking back over 30 years of pondering this massive wager, he admits he hasn't necessarily found all the definitive answers. But he says, even if I haven't become wiser, the search itself gave meaning. It is such a powerful takeaway. The mere act of questioning our nature, of seeking out the good despite all our inherent flaws, that is exactly what gives our lives profound meaning. Our persistent curiosity and our desire to figure out what good even is, that might actually be the ultimate proof that the wager isn't lost.
And that brings us to the end of our explainer. I want to turn this cosmic thought experiment entirely over to you. Based on everything we've unpacked today, our dark impulses, our capacity for incredible good, that endless carrot and stick, and our constant search for meaning, who do you think is winning the wager right now? Are we letting our flaws define us, or are we proving that optimistic perspective right? I'll leave you to ponder that as you look at your own choices moving forward. Thank you so much for joining me on this deep dive, and as always, keep asking the big questions.